And welcome to episode 7 of RaiderZone, the podcast here, brought to you by Raider Student Media, the sports team. We're full swing and everything. So we're going to jump right into it with the MLB. Not a lot going on in the MLB, no big free agent signings over the last week. Still some big names out there, that's for sure. Trevor Bauer, George Springer, DJ LeMahieu, JT Realmuto, all still unsigned as we wait to see where they may go. But we have bigger news this week. The only thing we're going to talk about as far as MLB goes pertains to Northeast Ohio. So all the listeners out there, this will hit home for sure. The Cleveland Indians have announced that they won't be the Indians after next season. So after the 2021 season, they will drop the name. Kind of the same situation with the Washington football team. They dropped the Redskins name that they had for a long time due to just the nature of it not being politically correct. Could be seen as, just not what you want. So Indians dropping their name. I guess after a lot of discussions, the Dolans finally decided that it was the right thing to do. There's a lot of rumored potential names, including the Spiders and Naps, which were former names of Cleveland. Before they were the Indians, they were the Naps, and before the Naps, they were the Spiders. Other ones include the Rocks or Rockers to the Pro Football or the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Another one's Guardians because of the bridge that is the Guardians of the Drivers there in Cleveland. Buckeyes. A lot of people are pushing this one away because of Ohio State. Great Lakes or Lakers, the Municipals, the Wild Things from the famous movie Major League. The Blues, which is another touch on the rock and roll came from the blues, and it would kind of have that music feel to it. And then none other than the baseball club, CBC. We'll see that in the box score. So, Brendan, I'll start with you. Since you get to work with the Indians, what are your thoughts on the announcement, and what would you make the new name?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. I understand it's time to move on, have a new era, change the whole brand, because the brand for Cleveland has definitely been very boring. The Block C just does not cut it. Not a lot of people like the Block C, so with a new brand and new name, brings the chance for a new logo as well. Every team and every sport has at least changed their name once. It's not unheard of, and for all the people saying, "Oh, you're erasing over 100 years of history of Cleveland and baseball," that is complete false. You don't erase history because it's history. It's happened. You can't do that. It's not a thing. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what the new name is going to be. One of the new names that has been thrown out there that I don't think you mentioned was the Blue Sox, because we have Red Sox, White Sox. Why not Blue Sox, I guess? We have the color blue already. I wouldn't be for that. I don't want that. The only name that you threw out that I would be okay with is Guardians. That's an aggressive name. It's a strong name. It works. Not a lot of people, I don't think, would get it. But I don't know. They'll do. They'll find a right name. They'll make it work. But enjoy this last season as the Indians while you can, I guess.
Alex, your thoughts on the name change, and what would your new name be?
Honestly, I'm a little disappointed by the change. I understand why they're doing it, but personally, I don't think I'll ever get used to calling them something different, because in the back of my mind, they'll always be the Indians. But, like Brendan said, if it's time for a change, I suppose, every team does it. I know we've already done it a couple times. Like you said, we've already been called the Naps and the Spiders. I honestly... Personally, I'm hoping that we don't go back to any of those names, because to me, I don't know, you hear these other teams in the MLB, just to name a few, you got the Bears or you got the Pirates that have, like Brendan said, those aggressive names or nicknames, and then we have like the Spiders. To me, that just doesn't sound, I don't think that gives it the same effect. Personally, I'm with Brendan. If we were to change the name, I feel like Guardians has the strongest name. Plus, it kind of has like that 3-syllable ring to it, like Indians, Guardians. So it kind of maintained the same ring to it. I honestly, of the rumored names, I don't see any of them kind of clicking in the same way. I actually remember when this rumor first started, like in the summertime, because my best friend was over and we were talking about it, and we were trying to like come up with like names for it, because I had also heard that the Spiders was a rumor back then, but we were also like trying to come up with names, and we were like, nothing has like the same effect as Indians to me personally, but I'm sure they will make it work, and I'm sure whatever happens, it's still Cleveland's team, so hopefully they find a good name for it. I do kind of like blue socks. I mean, red, white, and blue. I guess that would be cool, but maybe something more original, just unique to Cleveland. But that's kind of my take on it.
Ben.
I mean, to be honest, I understand why they're changing it, but I don't think it necessarily needed to. I don't think it's in the same tier as Redskins where it's an actual slur. But all right, I mean, it's just a name, so who cares, to be honest. But I mean, I look at these potential names. Rockers sounds like a minor league club. So I mean, I don't like that. Buckeyes, I'm not feeling that. Lakers I kind of rock with. Lakers, Guardians, Spiders I could get behind. So I think with red and blue, like you can make a cool logo, some nice uniforms. Municipals, I'm lukewarm on. Wild Things, again, I think that sounds like kind of like a minor league name. Blues could be nice. And then baseball club, come on now. We can't do that. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, like Spiders, Guardians, Lakers, Blues, like one of those or someone like that, I wouldn't mind it. Okay. A nice rebrand, and like Brendan said, that Block C is pretty boring.
Yeah.
So,
Jacob?
I was really expecting this decision to come a lot sooner, just given the times. I think you're going to see a lot of other teams, such as like the Chicago Blackhawks, the Atlanta Braves, and the Kansas City Chiefs, almost be able to do the same soon, just because of all the different issues that are going on in our country right now. So I'm not surprised at all to see the name change. I'm a huge sports history guy, so I really like the Spiders name, just going back to the old times. I think that'd be really cool. But I actually really like the Rockers name because I feel like it is very genuine to the city of Cleveland. And recently the Cavaliers came out with a jersey based off of rock and roll, and it's got the dark colors and it's got the different letters of all these rock and roll bands and everything. I think that the Indians could maybe do something like that, bring a darker color scheme in there. I think that'd be a little interesting. And I think that they can do something cool with the logo, maybe throw like a guitar in there, something like that, kind of just rebrand it in a way that's cool and pays homage to the city. But I also like the Wild Things too, just because I'm a huge Major League fan. I think that'd be pretty cool to do. But I was expecting this decision, and I think they're going to ultimately make the right decision in the future.
Yeah, I agree with everyone saying like it was expected. They kind of hinted last year that it was going to happen. It was just a matter of time when the official announcement came out. The official announcement's here, so they'll no longer be the Indians. I agree. I like the Spiders as far as old time's sake goes. Plus, with the blue and red, I think it could do something cool. You could also do like a themed week where you like are Spider-Man or something. I don't know. But there's a lot of room there. Guardians is another one I really liked. I agreed with Brendan. A lot of people won't understand why. It's because of the bridges with the Guardians on it in Cleveland. And they call them the Guardians of Traffic, I believe, or something like that. Now, maybe the baseball club isn't a bad idea. I mean, it's working out for the football team. 6 and 7.
When I hear baseball club, I think of a 4-year-olds league in my township. I'm sorry, but
I agree. It's
really
not what I want, but
club.
Also, when it comes to Cleveland, I'm a Clevelander, till I die. I love this city. The only thing I hate about it is that the fact that we always fall back on the whole rock and roll theme. Like, they put the guitar in the All-Star Game logo. The Cavs just, like Jacob said, had their new, rock and roll themed jerseys, which don't even look that great. And we already had the Cleveland Rockers in the WNBA. And that did not work out very well. Like, I don't like the fact that we were always known as the rock and roll city. Like, I want to be known as something else. So I don't want the Rockers at all.
What if we do the Cleveland Mistakes on the Lake?
Shut up, Will.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
like, the thing is, with
it's looking like
Rockers,
that after free agency.
Well, like you said with the Rockers, it would have to be paired with something like a guitar, because otherwise, like, when I hear Rockers, I mean, personally, I think of Colorado, and I think of, like, the Rocky Mountains, which is halfway across the country.
I think of a
So it's
rocking
like-
chair.
Yeah,
Look at them rockers.
if it's the Rockers, we're rocking chairs now.
Yeah, I picture
yeah.
I picture walking through Big Lots with my grandparents. Look at those nice rockers. Just like,
Yeah.
that's our baseball team.
I picture the dark color scheme. I like the dark color scheme a lot. That's what I like about the Cavs jersey. I agree with Brendan. I don't like the letters that much on the Cavs jersey. I just like the dark colors. I think it'd be sweet to see the Tribe coming out there in dark colors. Like,
yeah, there's the thing. Like, do we change our color scheme? Are we no longer red, white, and blue? Like, that would be interesting. You changed everything, then. It's a whole different team.
I don't think we should change the colors. I mean, I like the red, white, and blue.
I'll stand by Guardians, though. That's one I really like on this list. I also saw this other list of a fan that made a list, and they said, like, Cleveland Conductors for the orchestra or Cleveland Coasters for Cedar Point. I'm just like, we're stretching this, aren't we?
Those are minor league names.
Cleveland Racers for the racer snake population in Northeast Ohio. I'm like, who does this kind of research? Like, what's the most popular snake in Ohio?
No.
I don't know. Maybe if, like, we do go spiders, maybe we go, like, something more fierce, like the Cleveland Black Widows or something like, I don't know, Cleveland Tarantulas. But
oh no.
But it's happening. So over the next year, I guess we'll find out more. We'll follow this story, obviously, with us being a podcast out of Northeast Ohio. We want to know what's going to happen. And honestly, I'm hoping there's some sort of fan vote that eventually happens and they let the fans get a little bit of a deciding piece into what the new name is, because, you know, that always makes the fan base happy when they have a little bit of say in what's going to be on the jerseys they buy down the road. So, anyways, that's it for MLB. Like I said, not much going on. So that will take us now to college basketball, where we're through 4 weeks of play. Big Ten still playing really well. Some bigger names not playing too hot. Kentucky falls over the last week. Duke continues to struggle. But top 5 remains unchanged. A lot of that has to do with cancellations. I think Gonzaga had 3 games canceled over the last week, so it's kind of hard to fall from number 1 when you have no chance of being beat. But top 5 doesn't change over the last week. Brendan, I'll start with you again. Game of the week last week, and what game are you looking forward to next week?
Yeah, so the game of the week for me this past week was Ohio State taking on Cleveland State. It was a 6-point win for the Buckeyes, but Ohio State has just been pulling out win after win. All their wins, most of them have been close. They had the close game with Notre Dame that they just pulled out. They had to come from behind. But Cleveland State, a team that gave up 40 straight points to Ohio, made this a ball game. They kept trying to take the lead. They were within 6 and 8 and 4 at one point. They really gave Ohio State a run for their money. That really was only the most exciting game over this past week. But looking ahead, this coming Saturday has a ton of really good games, a lot of top 25 matchups. But the one I'm looking forward to the most is number 1 Gonzaga against number 3 Iowa. Gonzaga will have come back from their break in quarantine, which is why they had all those games postponed. They were in quarantine. So this is their first game back, and they immediately get tested against a really hot shooting team at Iowa. That should be, I hope it's one of the best games of the year early on here. But I'm pulling for the Bulldogs there.
Ben.
the past week for men's basketball wasn't really exciting. You had Ohio State come down to the wire without E.J. Liddell, their leading scorer. Heck of an effort by Cleveland State. But I'm crossing over to women's for mine. Last night, the Stanford women beat Pacific 104-61. Coach Tara Vanderveer got her 1,099th win to become the all-time winningest head coach in women's college basketball history. So that's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal, and easily the biggest thing that's happened in college hoops in the last week. But looking ahead, number 3 Iowa, number 1 Gonzaga this Saturday at noon. I mean, you got Luka Garza, who's averaging basically 30 points a game, 9 rebounds, and looking like a surefire Player of the Year candidate, versus Mark Few, who has one of the highest winning percentages among active coaches, and the number 1 ranked Bulldogs. So this should be a great game, top 4 matchup.
Jacob.
Yeah, I agree that this past week wasn't necessarily super exciting, but I would say my game of the week would have had to have been seeing Illinois lose to Missouri in a really close game. I really wasn't expecting that. I don't think it's ultimately going to affect Illinois that much. It's just really a learning experience. They're still a pretty young team, so I still think they're going to be fine. But I was also really looking forward to seeing Baylor and Texas play, but ultimately that was canceled, which is still, to me, making it very hard for me to believe that they're going to go all the way through this season. I'm really hoping that big games like this don't get canceled in the future, but I know it's just bound to happen given all the virus concerns. And my games of the week, so I'm looking at Kansas and Texas Tech. I think that's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really strong implication as to who's more legit in the Big 12 this year. This is, to me, when college basketball starts to get really exciting, is when conference play starts, because really I feel like the intensity of the play really picks up this time of the year. But also, like how Ben and Brendan both said, Gonzaga and Iowa is a huge game. I'm calling it the game of the year thus far, and maybe for the whole entire season potentially. I feel like Iowa is super hot this year. I feel like they're a team that is hungry. Luka Garza in particular, because I still feel he's angry that he didn't win Player of the Year last year, and he's really trying to prove his point that he should have won that last year, and he's definitely going to win it this year if he keeps up this play. But I also feel Gonzaga is a super deep team that can make a deep tournament run, and I think that Gonzaga is ultimately going to win this game in a very close one because I feel that they are the deeper team just a little bit more than Iowa.
Mm-hmm. A lot of good games last week. Another one that I'm going to highlight. Creighton goes down against Marquette. Great game throughout. Creighton had a strong first half, takes a 9-point lead to the half. Marquette comes out, outscores them 54-40 in the second half. Ends up winning 89-84 to improve to 5-2. Creighton falls to 4-2. DJ Carton scored a career high 20 points. Just a big game there for Marquette. A team that we see every now and then have a decent season, make a little bit of a run. Now look at the next week, I agree. Obviously, Iowa, Gonzaga, that's the big one. Number 3 versus number 1. I'm going to disagree with Jacob, though. I'm going to say Iowa gets this one just because of the fact Gonzaga hasn't been playing. They haven't had that in-game feeling in a while. And the way Garza's playing, this Iowa team kind of feels like, it just feels different. And the Big Ten also feels different this year. And I think Iowa's going to prove how legit they are in this game.
Gonzaga did have a win over Kansas, by the way. So that was their first game of the season. So they have had a big game already on their schedule. Hopefully that they can use that experience into this game. But, yeah, you're right. Going 2 weeks without playing does not help.
No, it doesn't, especially when you're playing a team of this caliber and playing a player like Garza. But another game to watch out for, I think, is Ohio State, North Carolina. Number 20 Buckeyes taking on the 22 Tar Heels. Ohio State trying to stay undefeated. They've had a couple close games, but North Carolina 4-2. Another loss might knock them out of the top 25. So, they're going to come with the power that they're going to come with. An ACC team trying to prove that the ACC is not the inferior conference, even though a lot of us believe it is right now. So I think that's going to be a big one. I think both teams are going to bring everything they have, knowing the Big Ten's trying to put themselves as the best conference of basketball this year, while North Carolina is trying to keep the ACC relevant and trying to keep themselves in the top 25. So that's one to watch out for as well over the next week for college basketball. We'll stick with basketball here as we'll jump over to the NBA now. Big news. I mean, we thought at the end of the season we were going to be talking, where's Giannis signing? No. Giannis has signed a 5-year extension with the Bucks worth $228 million. Jacob, did this surprise you?
I was actually at a zoo yesterday, so I wasn't really in front of a TV or anything like that. And I'm walking around, and I look down at my phone, and all of a sudden pops up this news, and it just brought me back. I could not believe that this happened. I really thought that the Miami Heat were the front runners to get Giannis, and I still thought that there was a decent shot that he would go back to Milwaukee. But I would have thought that he would have waited and seen how the season went before committing to signing the extension this year. But I think what this shows a lot about his character. Giannis comes from really humble beginnings in Greece. He had nothing, and Milwaukee's just provided him with opportunity after opportunity. So I personally love the move for him. Not necessarily a win now move for him, I don't think, because I think if he's thinking about winning immediately, he would have waited and went to Miami next year.
Yeah.
I still think he can win in Milwaukee in the future potentially, because I think the sky's the limit for him. And I really do believe that Milwaukee is trying their best to really build a contender around him. But I really like this because in today's NBA, we see every superstar going from team to team to team. Like LeBron goes from the Cavs to the Lakers. AD goes from the Pelicans to the Lakers. Kawhi's San Antonio, Toronto, and then the Clippers. So it's just nice to see Giannis staying in Milwaukee. I think it's ultimately good for the game of basketball and good for small market teams too. Because small market teams now, they don't have to work. Like a small market team like Milwaukee, they're never going to get a guy like Giannis in free agency whatsoever. So this is the only way they can keep a superstar is if you draft him and if you groom him. So he reminds me a lot right now of Dirk Nowitzki, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, of course Kobe, in the sense that that's just loyalty to their teams. So really, I think that Giannis made more of a character move than he did a win-now move. Because the win-now move is clearly you would have left Milwaukee. But Milwaukee is going to build a contender around him. And I think he's going to be competing for championships, maybe not necessarily winning them. But I like the move just because of the loyalty factor. I'm a huge loyalty guy.
Yeah, I saw the stat that showed players to win to be on the first team All-NBA multiple times and how many teams they've played for. And it was Giannis was 1, and then it showed like LeBron 3, Kawhi 3, Chris Paul 5, Dwight Howard 8. Like it showed that bounce around factor of the superstars. I think Russell Westbrook had 3 or 4. It's 3 Thunder, Rockets, and now Wizards. So it's just showing like what you reiterated on. The loyalty is not all the way there now in the NBA. So, and I also saw this other post laughed at. This was a laughing post, not like a serious post, but it said, large markets 100, small markets 1. Small markets finally get a point as Giannis helps the small market stay relevant. So
yeah, and really, I think what this does too is almost cements him as maybe the greatest Buck of all time, because I think he was neck and neck with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar just because Kareem brought them a championship and he brought them an MVP too. But Kareem, he left to go to Los Angeles. He wasn't loyal to Milwaukee in any way. So I think the loyalty just really cements Giannis's legacy in Milwaukee.
For sure. Ben, did this surprise you?
Not really, because Giannis seems by all accounts to be a really loyal dude. Like, if you do good by him, he's probably going to stick with you. Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising. It's probably a huge mistake, though, to be honest. Okay. I don't think he's ever going to win a title in Milwaukee. He'll be lucky to get one, let alone make it to the finals.
Okay. We'll see. I said a part of me agrees with you there. Just because now even you're a small market team, and when you see this, it's tough to build a team in a small market, especially when one of your players is getting a supermax. But at the same time, they're going to try to do everything they can to at least to get him one. They traded for Drew Holiday. I hope that. He's the better point guard than Bledsoe. They gave up a lot though, but I think Holiday's the better point guard in the long run. They still got Middleton. So we'll see what they do this year. They're the favorite to win the East right now. We talked about that last week. They're the favorite to get the first seed, not to win it. But we'll see. With Giannis, anything's possible. I do think he needs a little bit of help after last year, seeing what Miami did to the Bucks. But the 2020 season will tell us all we need to know. Brendan, were you surprised by this deal?
In a way, yeah. I didn't think that they were going to give Giannis a supermax contract like this, but I agree with what you guys are saying that, where are you going to get money for a supporting cast around him. I'm kind of afraid it's going to work out the way like LeBron in his first stint with the Cavaliers. He doesn't have, an all-star cast around him to make, multiple finals appearances yellow and win the finals. So kind of afraid of that with Milwaukee. They do have some, star players already, but not enough to go to the finals and win it all.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by this because the same thing Jake was talking about. I thought he'd go win now and leave for Miami, or I think Dallas was going to try to pursue him. I mean, he's going to be pursued by everybody. He's Giannis Antetokounmpo, but like everybody's going to see he's on the market and be like, okay, what offer can we send him? But I definitely thought he was going to leave for win now and join up with a guy like Jimmy Butler or Luka Doncic, so on and so forth. But instead, the loyalty's there, and like I said, I think it's just great for the sport of basketball. I love it. Keeps the East a little more competitive because the West has always been the more competitive conference. Keeping a big name like him in the East is going to be huge for the conference. And maybe as he continues to progress in his career, maybe he becomes the new LeBron of the Eastern Conference. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as LeBron or do things LeBron's done, but maybe a little bit of a shadow of him, you know what I mean? So did it surprise me a little bit? Yes. But do I like it? Yes. It's the biggest. I think the biggest thing too, like you guys are saying, like it's not a win now move. Yes, winning's obviously the whole point. You play the sport, but I think where Giannis came from, what Milwaukee did for him, and what he was able to do for his family because of that is why. I feel like this guy thinks he owes Milwaukee the world, and I respect him for that because he had to run to his first practice because he didn't have enough money for a cab. So it's awesome to get to see him. All his work pay off and him get rewarded with this big of a contract because not many guys win multiple MVPs in a row, let alone multiple MVPs in a career. So he obviously deserves it. So kudos to Giannis there on the big contract. So now we'll move on to award odds as Caesar Sportsbooks releases their odds on the NBA awards, MVP and Rookie of the Year. Obviously, Giannis, 2 in a row. He's trying to get that 3rd in a row. Doesn't happen. I think it's only happened once before. But they're giving Luka the top odds, plus 410 to win the MVP award. And then they're giving LaMelo Ball plus 390 the best odds to win Rookie of the Year. Brendan, I'll start with you. Do you agree with these odds as far as Luka and LaMelo being the favorites? Or is there someone that that you think could win it? Even if it's not the second best odds in Giannis or so on and so forth. I think Obi Toppin had the second best odds for Rookie of the Year. So who's your very early MVP and Rookie of the Year pick, Brendan? I think you're muted.
My bad.
There we are.
Not in agreement about LaMelo Ball winning the Rookie of the Year. I think it goes to either James Wiseman or Anthony Edwards. Obi Toppin maybe, but it all depends on how well the Knicks do, I think. And I think Minnesota and Golden State are obviously going to have better seasons than the Knicks. Hopeful Isaac Okoro puts a hand in the jar for it. Maybe
say the preseason but, he showed out this preseason thus far. So
he's definitely been playing well, but that's just preseason. As far as MVP pick, Luka Doncic, man, he's a stud. I love the guy. That buzzer beating shot against the Clippers he had over the playoffs just lifted him up a little higher to being one of the best in the league right now. I think it depends on how well Dallas does this year, how far they can go in the playoffs. But I don't see any other guy having a better season than him.
Okay. Jacob, your very, very early picks for MVP and Rookie of the Year.
So MVP, I really think Luka has a very strong chance at it. But like how Brendan alluded to, I don't necessarily think that Dallas is going to be as good as Milwaukee. And I still think that Giannis is going to throw up his 30 and 15 numbers yet again. He's just so dominant. He's shown no signs of regression. So I'm still sticking with Giannis. But I also think that we need to keep an eye on Nikola Jokic. I think that he has a chance of potentially winning the award. LeBron always has a chance, and I think Anthony Davis always has a chance too. But my dark horse pick this year, this is very dark horse. I wasn't normally going to think like this, but I just have this feeling this guy's going to have somewhat of another breakout season, and that's Jason Tatum for Boston. I think that the Celtics kind of got slightly worse this year, losing Gordon Hayward and a couple other pieces to their bench, I think can hurt the Celtics. But I think if they're still really successful, it's going to be in large part due to how Jason Tatum plays. Mm-hmm. And Jason Tatum, he's an all-NBA talent. So I think that he can have a really good breakout season and potentially challenge for the award, but I would still go with Giannis, and Luka's a very close second for me. And Rookie of the Year, I don't think it's going to be LaMelo. I think LaMelo is going to have a hard time in the beginning because he's playing behind Terry Rozier and Devontae Graham. And yes, he's probably better than both of them. But at this very moment, he still has to get used to the NBA game. He's going to come off the bench at first. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily see him having that great of a start to the season. But a guy that I'm looking at that not a lot of people are talking about, and from what I've been seeing from him in the preseason, is exactly how, like the news that I heard about him when he was playing overseas, that's Denny Avdia of the Washington Wizards. He's kind of coming into a situation similar to like what Luka Doncic did. He's obviously not as good as Luka Doncic, but he played a few seasons overseas and he had a lot of success overseas. So he has that pro experience already that some of these other rookies in an already down rookie class don't really necessarily have. So I think Avdia fits well to win the Rookie of the Year award, especially too because Washington doesn't necessarily have a bona fide starting small forward. So Avdia can really be the starting small forward, and he could potentially emerge as the third option to Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. You never know. Mm-hmm. I just think his experience overseas is going to ultimately help him adjust to the NBA game a lot quicker than some of these other rookies. And he's my pick right now for Rookie of the Year.
Ben.
All right. Yeah, I mean, for MVP, Luka's probably got a pretty good chance because the people who vote on the MVP like storylines. It's a pretty good storyline. I mean, he's a young kid, rapidly ascending. But, I mean, let's be honest here. LeBron James would be my pick for the MVP. And they should have an even better year than they had last year, the Lakers, that is, because they basically took the squad they had last year and just built it more. So they should be stacked this year. They should have a great season. And with LeBron James running at the head of it all, he should be a front runner for the MVP, but Luka will probably be close behind in the top three. And then Tatum maybe could be third or fourth in line. Maybe Jokic in there. No, probably Giannis. Jokic probably be fifth in MVP voting. But Giannis probably third, then Tatum, and then Jokic. And then Rookie of the Year, I don't put a ton of stock in Rookie of the Year. I mean, it really doesn't mean anything, to be honest, because most rookies don't do much. Now, I think your team's probably going to have some success. If your team can have some success and you can play decently well, you're probably going to win the award, to be honest. So I think Isaac Okoro could have a shot, potentially, if the Cavs continue to gel and pick up where they left off before the shutdown. LaMelo is going to be flashy and create highlights, which is going to give him an edge. And the Warriors are probably going to be better than a lot of people think, so Wiseman might have a chance to make an impact and get in there. But other than that, that's kind of how I see Rookie of the Year and MVP turning out.
Okay. Yeah, for MVP, I like Luka. I love Luka, I should say. Really fun player to watch. He's probably my favorite as well. I love the Tatum take, Jacob. I love that take because I think he is going to be taking on that super big role of as the leader of Boston. You may say, well, they have Kemba. I still think Tatum's the man on that team. Adding Thompson will help that rotation a little bit. But I do think he has to step up big time if Boston wants to continue to be where they're at as a team, which will give him a chance at winning it. But ultimately, I mean, it's going to be the same guys, Luka, Giannis, LeBron. It's going to be those guys. But I see Tatum and Jokic could be a guy thrown into the mix there. So love those takes. As far as Rookie of the Year, I think Okoro does have a great shot at it because when we were talking about the projections last week and the Cavs were projected to come in last in the East, I thought that was a little disrespectful. I could see them getting like maybe 11th, maybe even 10th. And after seeing the preseason, Okoro could have a lot to do with that, especially with Kevin Porter Jr.'s off-court antics. Gave me a little bit of trouble. We were uncertain what the rotation would look like. It's obvious they're giving a lot of minutes to Okoro to fill that void as of right now. But, I mean, he's played well. He hasn't skipped a beat. Yeah, it's preseason, but to come in and perform like he has in his first 2 real games against NBA competition, and then to hit a shot in the first game that wins the game right before the buzzer, I think if he can get that I'm not saying get the Cavs to the playoffs, but if Okoro has a big season in the Cavs, finish way better than projected, I could see him getting it. But I also agree, Melo's going to have the flashy plays. Wiseman's going to be on a better team. Edwards is probably going to be on a better team. Toppin, I like the second best odds for him just because he's going to be start now with how bad New York is, so he's going to get a lot of time. But we'll see. There's some other rookies I'd like to see play. I'm interested to see how Halliburton's going to be worked in over in Sacramento, so we'll see what he can do. But other than that, I think Doncic's a safe pick for MVP and Rookie of the Year. It's really a toss-up at this point. But without further ado, I hope you guys are ready because opening night's in 6 days. So, Jacob, basketball's back. You waited forever, didn't you? But opening night, yes, December 22nd. We have 2 games. The Nets will host the Warriors as we finally get to see the KD-Kyrie combo in a regular season game. Warriors trying to do better than last year after a lot of injury kept them from doing what they were used to doing. And then we have the LA battle. Clippers-Lakers will battle out in LA. I hate when they say there's a home team because there's really not. But nonetheless, there'll be the 10 o'clock game. Nets-Warriors 7 o'clock game. Jacob, I'll start with you. What excites you about these 2 games, and who do you have winning the 2 games opening night?
So the Nets and Warriors, I'm going to be completely honest, I'm expecting a really sloppy game from both teams because there's a lot of new pieces to each team. Obviously, KD and Kyrie are coming back from injury, and even Steph's coming back from injury. So it's going to be a sloppy game. Opening night games normally are pretty sloppy, but I'm really excited, as I think everybody is, to see how well KD and Kyrie gel together. I think this is a really interesting combo just because Kyrie's very ball dominant, KD's really ball dominant. I think it's going to work out, but I want to see just exactly how it works out. And I'm interested to see how Steph responds with all the new pieces around them too. I ultimately think Brooklyn's going to win this game just because they are more talented, I feel, than Golden State at this time. But I think that it could go either way because I really do think it's just going to be a really sloppy game for both. And the Battle of LA, what I'm really looking forward to is just to see how the Clippers respond with this new culture that Ty Lue's going to implement. I mean, obviously, everyone wants to see how the Lakers' new pieces are going to fit with the defending champions, but I really think that Ty Lue can turn the Clippers around just how he turned the Cavs around. With the culture that David Blatt implemented with the Cavs wasn't necessarily working out. He came in, he really changed the Cavs. Obviously, they won a championship off it. So he can maybe do that with the Clippers too. So I really want to see how Paul George and Kawhi respond to that. And ultimately, I think that the Clippers are going to come out with a lot of intensity in this game, more than you usually see on an opening night game, because they want to prove all the critics wrong. And I have them actually beating the Lakers right now.
Okay.
I still think the Lakers are still clearly the better team, and I think come playoff time, the Lakers would clearly beat the Clippers. But I just have this feeling that the Clippers are really upset right now with all that they're hearing, that they're already washed up. They're not going to contend for a title this year. I think they're going to want to come out and say, hey, we're going to contend. Might not necessarily win the whole thing, but we're going to compete. We're going to contend. So I think the Clippers are going to win opening night.
Okay. Brendan, your opening night thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what 2 better games to start the season? Kyrie and Durant playing together now. I honestly cannot wait to see what that looks like. But I can't wait to see what Steph and James Wiseman look like together. Both really good shooters. In this game, I expect Steph to come out and put up 30-plus, burying threes. He's just been gone so long that all that built up energy, he's going to come back and show that he's, the same old Steph, and put up, 10 threes in a game. I do think Golden State wins this one, because, they're so exciting to watch. Some more pieces to work with here. They don't have Klay Thompson, but I think what, Kyrie and Durant both know, you really can't stop Steph Curry when he gets hot. The other game, Clippers and Lakers, I'm in agreement with Jacob. I think the Clippers do win this game. The Lakers, they just finished playing a little over a month ago, so they might be a little tired, a little slow out of the gate. They do have a lot more new pieces than the Clippers do, and I think Kawhi comes out a little frustrated with the way last season ended, and leads the Clippers to a win. But I think ultimately this is going to be that win for the Clippers that you look ahead in April and May and say, yeah, well, that was just a fluke. The Lakers are clearly the better team.
Ben, you agree Clippers 3-0 sweep here amongst you guys, and thoughts on the Nets Warriors, or are you going different?
For the Brooklyn Nets Warriors game, I'm excited to see how Wiseman goes out in his first game, and obviously how the Nets come out with their new pieces, Kevin Durant especially, and see how he plays in his first game back from injury back in the finals in 2019. But I think the Nets should get this with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. They should be able to get it. I'm also interested to see if Kyrie decides to talk to the media finally and quit being a head case for 5 seconds. But then Battle of LA, I'm excited to see how the Clippers come out and respond after the Lakers pretty much ran them over in the off season. But that being said, I think the Lakers are going to win that pretty solidly.
All right. So for me, I'm excited, obviously, just for basketball to begin. Kyrie, KD. Everybody's been waiting for this for a year. I think the Nets do beat the Warriors, just because the Nets were the better team last year before adding those pieces. The Warriors still lose Klay. They still have to mesh. They got new guys in Oubre, Wiseman, who will be starting. So I think it's going to take a few games to get used to. The Nets still have a solid core from last year, and they're adding arguably a top 3 player and one of the best point guards in basketball. Yes, I think it's going to take time for them to mesh as well. But Kyrie has experience guarding Steph, as we saw multiple times in the NBA Finals. And KD knows the Warriors team. He played for them. So I think they're going to have the edge overall, and I think the Nets pull it off. As for the LA battle, I think the Lakers do take it just because I get what you're saying. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to be down to the wire. Might even include a buzzer beater or a last-second shot to prevail. But I think the Lakers overall pulled off because they have it seems like LeBron and AD, either one of them, they make that big shot. We saw AD hit a buzzer beater in the playoffs last year. We've seen LeBron do it time and time again in his career. So I think overall they have the bigger players in the bigger moments. Kawhi's a big player in a big moment. Don't get me wrong. Paul George, we haven't seen it in a while, so we'll see. But I'm taking the Lakers in that one. But it should be a very fun opening night, December 22nd. Mark your calendars. Those 2 games, 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. So you'll have to watch the LA game from home because the curfew was extended into January. So don't make plans to go to a sports bar to watch the 10 o'clock game. But we'll move on to some football now. So we'll go over to college football as it's conference championship week, big week for a lot of schools. We'll start with an upset alert from last weekend's action as LSU upsets number 6 Florida on the road, 37-34. Kyle Trask still has a beautiful game. Throws for 474 yards and 2 touchdowns, keeping his Heisman hopes alive. The biggest thing, a very foggy game. I'm sure you guys watched it. LSU kicks a field goal, 55-yarder in the fog, nails it. What a kick. Florida goes down. They try to do the same thing, miss wide left. LSU wins, and we finally get to hear Coach O in an interview. I don't think I've heard Coach O in an interview all season long. after hearing him every week last year. Go Tigers! And that was the first time I got to hear it this year, and I was so excited to hear it. I'm not going to lie. But nonetheless, LSU wins the game. They improve to 4-5. Florida falls to 8-2. What does this mean for Florida's playoffs hopes? Brendan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, great game by Kyle Trask. Better game by LSU, but Gators can blame Marco Wilson for
100%.
launching a shoe 25 yards. To quote Austin Powers, who throws a shoe, honestly. Ended up, costing him the game, gets flagged for it, and that comes back to bite the Gators in the butt. Goodbye college football playoff. If you can't beat a really bad LSU team this year, I don't think that they're bad. They just don't have everything put together. If you can't beat a losing LSU team, then you don't deserve to be in the playoff. Even if they beat Alabama in the SEC championship, I don't think they'll make it now. With I know the playoff has some SEC bias, but a loss against LSU is not going to help your case. Right now, I would put Texas A&M in over Florida, sadly.
There's still a 1% chance on the All-State playoff predictor for Florida, so there is a chance. Alex, your thoughts on the Gators' playoff chances? Are you with Brendan that they're done, or are you with All-State? There's a chance.
Nah, Brendan said it all for me. I kind of agree. I mean, the way they played this last game, LSU deserved to win. Even with I can't talk. Even with what Florida did beforehand, they didn't show up at this game. And if they lost to LSU, then maybe they just can't make the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I also agree. LSU did deserve to win this game. They played a full game against a great team. But Kyle Trask also deserved to win this game with the numbers he put up. I won't say Florida deserved to win because the defense was atrocious and Wilson a very bad error, but Kyle Trask deserved this game. Ben, Gators playoff hopes squandered?
They're dead in the water.
Dead in the water.
It's Gator season down there in the bayou.
Who got him? Happy Gilmore got him.
Yeah, guess so. But man, that's such a boneheaded play to throw a shoe.
Yeah.
What possesses you to do that? But yeah, that's going to end their season. Sucks, but that's how it goes.
Most hated man on campus right now, Jacob.
I guarantee he's probably got some nasty messages. Unfortunately,
100%.
Yeah, I saw this coming kind of. I thought this was going to be a trap game potentially for Florida. You gotta bring your A game all the time. They were looking ahead to Alabama, and that's for sure. And that's what frustrates me so much. We could have had an SEC championship game that would have meant so much to the playoff. And now, regardless, if Florida wins, Florida's not getting in. And I think even if Alabama loses, Alabama's still in.
Yeah.
So really, the SEC championship to me has no meaning anymore, which is why it's incredibly frustrating to see Florida lose so late in the season. They're done. Alabama, they just need to show up and play a game, and they're in my eyes. And so, yeah, Florida's just done. They're done. It's just horrible, horrible game for them, and I'm just really disappointed as a college football fan.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're done too, just because a lot has to happen for them to get in. A lot of upsets, which we'll get into. Certain ways certain teams can get into in a couple minutes. But their playoff hopes have definitely squandered, in my opinion, to less than 1%, because the chance is technically still there. But like I said, they do not control their own destiny by any means, which they kind of did if they would have won this game. If they could beat Bama, I thought they were in. So it's really a shame for a guy like Kyle Trask who goes out, balls out, has that great of a game, and unfortunately has nothing to show for it, loses to a sub-500 team. In LSU's defense, they are LSU. They did just win a national championship last year, so to say that they're a completely bad team is not something you can do. They also had a new quarterback in this game, so maybe they found the answer in replacing Joe Burrow, because he looked a heck of a lot better than anyone they've thrown out there this season. But we'll move on. Speaking of Kyle Trask, the Heisman race is in full swing. This is ESPN's current standings of what they think the Heisman race is. And a wide receiver is at the top of the list right now. Devontae Smith is projected to be the leader of the Heisman race right now with 54 points and 7 first-place votes. His quarterback, Mac Jones, is in second, so Alabama taking the top 2 spots with 52 points. So a very close race between them. Trask's in third with 39 points. Trevor Lawrence in fourth with 28 points. And those are the 4 guys receiving first-place votes, apparently. Other guys receiving votes in this order: Zach Wilson from BYU, Ian Book from Notre Dame, Kyle Pitts from Florida in the 7th spot, Breece Hall from Iowa State, the running back, in 8th, and 9th, Justin Fields from Ohio State. And rounding out the list of 10 receiving votes is Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama. So 3 Crimson Tide on the top 10 list for the Heisman Trophy. Ben, I'll start with you. Who's your Heisman winner right now and why?
Mac Jones. I mean, he plays the most important position in the game of football, and he's been absolutely balling out this year. It's really hard for a receiver to win. I mean, we look back at past winners. The last time a non-quarterback or running back won the award was in '97 when Charles Woodson won it as a cornerback, but also as a punt returner and doing some offensive stuff for Michigan. But the last time a receiver, like a true receiver, won the award was '91 when Desmond Howard did it, also with Michigan. So there's a history of it going to either a quarterback or just an outstanding, out-of-this-world running back like Derrick Henry in 15 or Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush. So I got to say, I think it's going to go to Mac Jones, quarterback of the Crimson Tide.
All right. Jacob, are you in agreement?
So up to last week, I would have been in agreement with Mac Jones, but I'm actually going to go with Devontae Smith here. And I understand that it is a quarterback-driven award, and I do agree with that. It's going to be very hard for Devontae Smith, I think, to win it. But last week, Mac Jones didn't score a touchdown. Devontae Smith, he had a punt return touchdown. That, to me, put him over the top because now he's got the receiving touchdowns, he's got the special teams touchdowns, and when I was thinking about it, Mac Jones, yes, he's been throwing a lot of touchdowns, but who have they been to? They've been to Devontae Smith the majority of the time. Mm-hmm. He's just having a great season, and he's having a season, to me, that's a lot like when Desmond Howard won the Heisman. But a guy that I think, I'm not saying this guy should win the award by any means necessary, but he should at least be in this top 10, is Jarrett Patterson from Buffalo. Because I'm just giving love to those small schools. That's been my theme this whole year. If it was a regular college football season, he would be on track for over 2,000 rushing yards and 30 touchdowns. Like, come on, we need to give him some credit here.
Jacob,
yeah, to me, it's Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith wins the award.
The funny part is they had, after the top 10, they had guys who could potentially receive votes, and Jarrett Patterson was the only guy on that list. So
I mean, I don't understand it.
It's a hot take, but it's a good take. I understand where you're coming from. He was at least recognized a little bit, but it's tough when you're going up against these big boys who are playing Power 5 teams and putting up these stats.
Sure.
Brendan, who's your Heisman winner right now?
Yeah, well, this whole race really frustrates me. Will, I'm sure you'll agree, because Ian Book is far too low. But that's what you get when you don't play in the SEC, and you're not as appreciated. Even below Zach Wilson, I don't get. Yeah. But I really like Kyle Trask. I'll disagree with both Jacob and Ben. I really like Kyle Trask. 2 losses really aren't his fault at all.
Both field goal losses. Both 3-point losses, too.
Exactly.
Had them in the game.
Very close. I mean, it's extremely tough to put up 38 on Texas A&M. Put up 44 on Georgia. He's been so impressive all season long, and I think he's played better than Mac Jones. So I'll go with him. I think it's now a stretch. They kind of look at those losses against him, which they shouldn't, but I'll go with Trask.
Alex, who's your Heisman winner?
I'm between Mac Jones and Devontae Smith as well, because I could see both sides. Like, I agree that this award is mainly quarterback driven. I mean, you look at the list, they are majority quarterbacks. So I could see how that could pan out in that way. But at the same time, I mean, there's a reason why Devontae Smith is number one. I mean, like Jacob said, like, look what he did last week. There's a reason why he's number one. So maybe this year he divides the odds and gets it as a wide receiver. So I can kind of see it panning out for either one of those two. I have to say, though, hats off to Alabama. I mean, they have 3 of the top 10 spots. I mean, that's pretty good for them. But
Yeah. I'm going Devontae Smith right now. I'm always a fan of trying to change things up. Give it to a wide receiver. Why not? My big thing is when Jalen Waddle went down, everybody said, how's Smith going to do? He's going to catch all the double teams. He's burnt both corners every play. Has 17 all-purpose touchdowns, including a punt return and a rushing touchdown, 15 receiving. Catches the majority of Mac Jones' touchdown passes. And it seems every game, not only eclipsing the century mark, but the 200-yard mark. It seems like every game we see Devontae Smith, 10-plus receptions, 200 yards, 2-plus touchdowns. And, I mean, when you see that on the stat line, you go through each box score, and it shows you the passing leader, rushing leader, receiving leader of the game. Devontae Smith is always that man in Alabama's games. So he's my pick right now. Mac Jones a very close second, and I think ESPN has it right with that 54-52, because I think those two are very tight when it comes to who's going to win the Heisman. And Brendan, to touch on Ian Book, I think he's catching a lot of disrespect because he only has a little over 20 passing touchdowns. But what people don't realize is he's rushed for almost 500 yards and I think 8 rushing touchdowns, which you don't see a lot with quarterbacks. Kyle Trask has -1 rushing yards on the season. I think Mac Jones has 50. So the fact that he has 500, almost 508 touchdowns is probably getting overlooked. I think, honestly, I'd put him over Zach Wilson and maybe even Lawrence just because of the fact Lawrence missed 2 games and Notre Dame did beat Clemson and Book had a heck of a game. Since that Clemson game, Book's been a whole different quarterback, honestly. But I think Breece Hall's also getting a little bit of disrespect. I think he is the machine that's leading that Iowa State team to where they're at 8-2. And we're about to talk about the college football playoff rankings, so let's just jump right into it. Iowa State gets a little bit of respect. Matt Campbell, the Mount Union alum, they get the 6th spot after Florida goes down. Florida only drops 1 spot to 7. Top 5 does not change. Florida drops to 7. Iowa State gets that 6th spot. I mean, yeah, they have 2 losses, but they've looked like one of the best teams in college football over the last 5+ weeks. They have a big game this weekend, as we'll talk about conference championships coming up. Cincinnati, Jacob, they catch a little bit of disrespect once again. They fall another spot due to the lack of games. I mean, they keep getting canceled, and the committee's not liking it. And because of that, they're down to 9. All-state playoff predictor I mentioned earlier. Here's the chance to make the playoffs. Alabama has a 99% chance. So, Jacob, like you said, SEC championship, really no meaning because that 99% is basically saying, hey, whether you win or lose Alabama, you're in unless you get annihilated. Ohio State has an 88% chance after that Florida loss. They went up like 30%. So Ohio State probably sending a fruit basket over to LSU and Coach O because their playoff chances went up tremendously after that loss. Notre Dame in at 69% chance. USC 50%. I don't get that at all because the committee showed them no respect. Yeah, they're 5-0. They haven't really played anybody, and they're 5-0, but they're ranked 13th. So to have a 50% chance to move up 9 spots, I don't see happening. Clemson a 46% chance, Texas A&M 34%, Cincinnati 9%, and then Iowa State, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Florida all a 1% chance of making the playoffs. So let's discuss a little bit what has to happen for certain teams again. Like I said, it's basically Alabama's a lock. Ohio State with a win against Northwestern's a lock. Notre Dame with a win over Clemson and they're a lock. A close loss over Clemson, I still think they're a lock. Clemson's out with a loss, I think. What has to happen for the Aggies to get in? Anybody. Texas A&M, I was listening to ESPN. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're thinking that both Ohio State and Clemson both have to lose for Texas A&M to get in because they think Iowa State with a win in the Big 12 would jump them. And if Florida beat Alabama, I don't know. What do you guys think about Texas A&M? A one-loss SEC team has never been left out.
Yeah, I think that either Ohio State or Clemson have to lose. I don't necessarily agree with that they both have to lose because I would personally put Texas A&M over Iowa State. I think they've looked like the better team all year. I think Alabama and Notre Dame are essentially locked into the playoff. I think that having Notre Dame at 69% is really disrespectful to them, actually, because I think even if they lose to Clemson, I think it's going to be a close game regardless, and I can see them just dropping to 4, really, even if they lose. Mm-hmm. So I think that A&M just needs either Ohio State or Clemson to lose. If Clemson loses, they're out. Ohio State, if they lose, in my opinion, they're out too. So either one of those two lose, then A&M to me would go in. I just don't see how Iowa State would hop A&M in that situation, even if they won the Big 12.
Well, anybody else have anything to add on the Aggies getting in?
Yeah, I think really the only way that they can get in is if Ohio State loses or Clemson loses, because then that puts Alabama at 1, Notre Dame 2 if they beat Clemson, which it looks like, looking at the percentages, they're going to assume Clemson loses to Notre Dame, giving them only 46% chance. So that puts Notre Dame at 2. If Ohio State wins, then they can jump to 3, and then Texas A&M takes over that 4 spot. That's really the only logical scenario I see happening. Iowa State, both Clemson and Ohio State lose. But even then, I don't even know if the committee would want Iowa State to be in the playoff. If both Clemson and Ohio State lose, I would think that they would put Clemson at the 4 spot.
You think?
And then they'll play Alabama. Yeah, I honestly think
the 2-loss Clemson team losing their 2 biggest games.
They love Trevor Lawrence. They love Dabo Swinney. And that would be a rematch of Alabama and Clemson.
I think they'd catch too much flack. I think they'd catch too much flack if they put a Clemson team over a Big 12 champion Iowa State who has played unbeatable football since their second loss.
Yeah, but that's what you get for being a Big 12
and they would
team,
also have 2 wins over Oklahoma, a win over Texas, a win over Oklahoma State. I mean, I don't know. This weekend's gonna be fun, guys. I'm telling you what. Also, the assuming of the Notre Dame Clemson game, I don't know if I can get in trouble for this, but the Capital One fan vote said 66% chance for Clemson. I said the All-State playoff predictor already, so I might as well say the Capital One fan vote. 66% are saying Clemson's gonna win. So right there, it's a landslide for Clemson. But
if they do win, then Notre Dame moves down only 1 spot to 3.
Yeah.
If Notre Dame loses, are they out?
I think Notre Dame's only out if they get blown out.
Yeah, me too. I agree with that.
So, like I said, this weekend's going to be exciting. Iowa State, Texas A&M still fighting. They're the first 2 out right now. Florida, Georgia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma will have that 1% chance. Don't worry, Jacob. Cincinnati, they're still in it. They got to beat Tulsa.
Can I ask why Georgia is still at 8 as a 2-loss team?
They're so overrated.
So disrespectful.
And Clemson and Cincinnati is 9. Like, what? Why are they giving so much?
Here's what has to happen for you, Jacob. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Alabama blows out Florida. Florida gets knocked out. Yes. Notre Dame blows out Clemson. Shoots them back even further. We have Northwestern beats Ohio State. Texas A&M gets beat by Tennessee. It's a non-conference championship game. But Texas A&M has to get beat by Tennessee, where we're stretching it thin. And then I think Oklahoma has to beat Iowa State because I think Cincinnati have a better chance of making it than Oklahoma. And that is the only way the Bearcats find a way into the playoffs.
Great minds think alike, Will, because that's exactly what I have written down in my notes right here.
So
it's very slim chances, but yeah.
9%?
I'm hoping it happens, but it's not going to happen.
So, Jacob, for Christmas, you want a Tennessee Volunteers hat. There you go.
Yes, I really do.
But I don't know. There's a lot of implications. I can't remember it going down to this much. Like I don't know. This is going to be a fun weekend. I got my shift covered on Saturday, so I'll be sitting on my couch watching the games. I said I'm not watching these games while I'm bartending. I'm definitely going to be comfy in my Irish jersey watching these games because it's going to be a fun day of football. Oregon USC's we'll jump into Week 16 or Conference Championship Week. Oregon USC's Friday night. USC has that 50% chance somehow, some way. I don't quite know how. That's the Pac-12 championship. Big Ten, number 14 Northwestern will take on number 4 Ohio State at noon. Number 10 Oklahoma, number 6 Iowa State. The Big 12 championship also battling it out at noon. Number 19 Louisiana, number 12 Coastal Carolina will battle it out for the Sun Belt Trophy a little bit before 4. And then at 4, the ACC kicks off with number 3 Clemson and number 2 Notre Dame. Mountain West Conference has a 4 o'clock game as Boise State and number 24 San Jose State play it out. San Jose State undefeated. The American Conference plays at 8 o'clock as number 23 Tulsa will take on number 9 Cincinnati. And the SEC also an 8 o'clock game as number 1 Alabama and number 7 Florida battle it out on the gridiron. Ben, I'll start with you. What are your predictions for Conference Championship Week? Who's winning which conferences?
All right. Pac-12, I'm going to take USC to roll by Oregon. Then the Big Ten, I think Ohio State's probably going to win by 3-4 scores over Northwestern. Big 12, Iowa State's been playing pretty much unbeatable football, and you got to ride the hot hand here. Iowa State's going to win that. Then the Sun Belt, just for the heck, I'm going to take Coastal Carolina to try and go move to 12-0. So they can claim that national championship like UCF a few years ago. ACC, I think Clemson's probably going to win by a score or two. And if Notre Dame gets blown out, that's it for them. But I expect it to be a possession or two game either way. But I think Clemson probably wins it. Mountain West, I'll take Boise State for an upset just for the heck of it. The American, Cincinnati's going to slaughter Tulsa. You can take that to the bank. It's going to be like 21 points at least. And then Alabama's going to roll by a couple scores against Florida.
All right. Jacob, your conference championship picks.
Yeah, so Pac-12, I think USC is going to beat Oregon, but they should have no shot at making the playoffs still. 50% is just absolutely ridiculous. Big Ten, I think Ohio State wins by 2 or 3 scores over Northwestern. I don't see that really being much of a game. Big 12, I really want to pick Iowa State, and they have been playing really good football, but I just have this feeling about Lincoln Riley, Spencer Rattler. I think they can upset Iowa State in the conference championship game. So I'm taking Oklahoma. Sun Belt, Coastal winning. I think it's going to be close, though, against Louisiana. Louisiana's a good team. So I'd say maybe by a score, maybe Coastal would win. ACC, I've been saying it for weeks. I just think Clemson's going to get that revenge game on them. They're going to play better. They're going to beat Notre Dame. Mountain West, I love the San Jose State story, but Boise's going to ultimately end up beating them in that game. The American, I think since he's going to win over Tulsa, I think it's going to be a little bit close, but I still can see them winning by a score or 2 over Tulsa. And SEC, Alabama over Florida. I don't believe in Florida anymore after what I saw them do against LSU last week.
Alex, you're laughing. What are your conference championship picks?
Oh, God. No, what Jacob said about the Alabama-Florida game, I lost all hope for Florida. But, yeah, for sure. For that game, I'm definitely going Alabama. But going back in that same order, I think for the Pac-12, I'm going with USC for that one. I think it's going to be close, but something tells me USC is going to bring it. For the Big Ten, I'm going with Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going – I don't want to say by a landslide win, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a bigger gap. For the Big 12, I'm going to go with Iowa State for that one. For both the Sun Belt and ACC, I think those are both going to be really, really close games. But I think for ACC, something tells me Notre Dame's going to win. I don't know what. I agree that Clemson's going to try to get a revenge game, but something still tells me that Notre Dame's going to end up winning it. Sun Belt, I'm going to go with Coastal Carolina. Same thing. Something tells me that they're going to win it. NWC, I'm on board with Boise State. And for the American, I just feel like Cincinnati's gonna obliterate Tulsa. Something tells me that'll be a landslide game. I totally see Cincinnati winning that one.
Love it. Alex is my new favorite. Brendan.
Thanks, Will.
Pac-12, definitely USC over Oregon. Wasn't even supposed to be Oregon.
No.
Be Washington, but Washington had COVID issues. Ohio State over Northwestern in the Big Ten by a few touchdowns, I think. I want to agree with Jacob about the Big 12 game. This might be the best conference championship game of the weekend. But I think the Cyclones are able to pull it out. They're on a high right now. A lot of momentum going on. Matt Campbell leading that ball club. I think they'll have that edge. Sun Belt, keeping with the Chanticleers, baby. Coastal Carolina going 12-0. Louisiana, ACC. Got to go with my Irish, of course. Mountain West, San Jose State getting no love this year. But I'll pull with the Spartans over Boise State. That might be a close game, but I think the Spartans definitely finish out the season strong. American, Jacob, don't be mad at me, but this might be a close weekend. Tulsa over Cincinnati. Tulsa has gotten no love all
They're
year.
done, Jacob. They're done. He called BYU. They're done.
Close game. It's going to be a close game. It will be a close game, but there's no way Cincinnati's losing. I just have to have hope.
If Cincinnati loses and Coastal Carolina wins, that puts Coastal Carolina in a New Year's Day bowl game.
Oh, man. Who would have thought?
Breaking my heart over here. Oh.
Obviously, Alabama over Florida, but I do think Kyle Trask makes that game. Makes it a game. That might be a shootout between Mac Jones and Kyle Trask.
All right, so that means it's my turn. Pac-12, we're going Trojans. Oregon showed the last 2 weeks that they're not what they were supposed to be or whatever everyone thought they would be. Definitely missing Herbert, I think. The quarterback position's not looking too hot. But Big Ten, I'm going Buckeyes. They should and they will win this game. Northwestern, 6-1, but I think it's just a very it's a record I don't believe in. They beat Wisconsin, but Wisconsin now has 3 losses. So I think Ohio State should get by pretty easily with this one. Big 12, I got to go Iowa State. The Mount Union boys are built different. You got Campbell over there leading the Cyclones. Football minds, that's what Mount Union is, and he's having a heck of a year, getting a lot of looks from bigger programs as he's turned that Iowa State program into a contender in the Big 12 year in and year out, and now he's getting looked at by programs who are considered powerhouses in the sport of football, so kudos to him, and I hope he can get this another big win on his resume there. Sun Belt, I'm going Coastal Carolina, keep it going, You beat the Cougars. I was on the BYU train, so now I'm still on the BYU train, but I got to jump over to the Coastal Carolina train as well because he knocked us off. ACC, this one is so tough. I don't even know. I've literally watched so many videos. ESPN's broken it down in front of me. I don't know. It's so tough. The Capital One fan vote makes it sound like it's going to be a landslide, but I think it's going to be a good game. I think it could go either way. I've heard both quarterbacks talk about the game. I've heard captains talk about the game. Lawrence wants the revenge. Ian Book wants Notre Dame to be on the map after it's his 5th year. He wants this to be the year. Since that Clemson game, he's been a whole different monster. I think the quarterback battle is going to be fun to watch. These two actually coached 2 All-American team like the Camps, and Trevor Lawrence actually beat Ian Book in coaching. Book beat Clemson earlier this year, so this is technically the tiebreaker, they're calling it. But I want to pick Notre Dame just because I'm a fan, but part of me feels like Clemson will win by like a field goal. But at the same time, I think whoever wins this game is going to be a possession game. It's so hard for me to pick though, so I'm going to stay neutral. But I'm going to say it's a 1-possession game. I'm going to stay neutral. It's a 1-possession game. But I obviously, like I said, got Saturday off. We'll be wearing my navy blue and gold and rooting on the Irish. Mount West Conference, I'm going Boise State. Their only loss is the Cougars at BYU. But I think they beat San Jose State. The American Conference, Jacob, you'll love me. I'm going Cincinnati. I'm going Cincinnati there. And then the SEC, I think Alabama, I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout. But I think Alabama holds on, prevails because of Devontae Smith and Mac Jones. You know what? Forget it. Irish are taking down the Tigers, ACC champions. So that will be it for college football. We'll keep it rolling with football as we now talk about the NFL. Every week, the playoff implications list is getting longer, guys. It is a race for these final spots. Only 4 teams have clinched out of 14 available spots. Over the next 3 weeks, we'll see 10 teams clinch. There's 3 clinching situations this week that we'll talk about. But let's talk about a few games that happened over the weekend. So Thursday night, the Rams took down the Patriots 24-3. The Rams improved to 9-4. Cam Akers rushed 29 times for 171 yards in the win. New England falls to 6-7 as Cam Newton's pick 6 deflates the Patriots. Pun intended, Deflategate. Arizona Cardinals. I know it wasn't Cam Newton, but the Patriots are involved in every gate. Arizona Cardinals take down the Giants 26-7. Cardinals to 7-6 get back in that playoff spot. Hassan Reddick has a franchise record 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Giants fall to 5-8 and are now second in the NFC East. Chiefs take down the Dolphins 33-27. Mahomes has his worst game of the season, but wins. Throws for almost 400 yards, but throws 3 picks. Miami outscores Kansas City 17-3 in the fourth quarter in their comeback efforts, but falls to 8-5. Still has the 7th spot in the AFC, though. Tampa Bay takes down Minnesota 26-14. Tampa Bay improves to 8-5. Tom Brady throws under 200 yards once again, but throws 2 touchdowns. Minnesota falls to 6-7. Dan Bailey, I don't know if that man's going to have a job for much longer. Colts defeat the Raiders 44-27. They improve to 9-4. Taylor rushes for 150 and 2 touchdowns. The Raiders, Derek Carr has a beautiful game, 316 with 2 touchdowns, but the Raiders fall to 7-6, and playoff hopes are getting smaller and smaller for Vegas. The football team, they continue their run. They take down the 49ers 23-15. Chase Young has a defensive touchdown as he continues his Defensive Rookie of the Year campaign. Football team moves to 6-7 and first place in the NFC East. San Francisco falls to 5-8. Brandon Ayuk, though, shows flashes with 10 receptions, 119 yards, as San Francisco's always been missing that premier wide receiver. It seems like maybe they got their guy. Buffalo takes down Pittsburgh 26-15. Sunday Night Football, Buffalo improves to 10-3. Pittsburgh falls to 11-2. Diggs shows out, 10 receptions, 130 yards, touchdown, and gives me a playoff win in fantasy football. And the Steelers have now lost 2 in a row, and Kansas City takes over that top seed because of that. And then the game of the week, this is probably the game we're all going to talk about. Monday Night Football. What a game. Baltimore 47, Cleveland 42. Lamar Jackson rushes for 124 and 2 touchdowns, comes out after going to the bathroom. After having cramps, and throws a touchdown pass to take the lead. The Ravens rush for 5 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, QB1, passes for 343 yards, 2 touchdowns, has a rushing touchdown, does throw a huge pick. But the Browns fall to 9-4. Ravens improve to 8-5. So we'll talk about this one first. If there's any other game you want to talk about, don't be afraid to holler. Maybe you want to talk about Buffalo, Pittsburgh. But I know, after how our group chat blew up, we're all dying to talk about Cleveland, Baltimore, because this Cleveland team is different. Cleveland team of old, Baker Mayfield, or whoever the quarterback is, throws a pick. It's returned to the 1-yard line. They go down 14. Game's over. Everybody gives up. Final score is 49-20 Baltimore. That's the Browns of old. That's not the Browns that we saw on Monday night, and that is making Northeast Ohio fans very happy, very, very, they're believing it. They believe because Baker Mayfield got back on that field, led them down the field, got a 2-point conversion, and then Lamar Jackson's bathroom incident, cramp incident, whatever it was, led to a 3-and-out, and the Browns take the lead. They did not give up. They fought till the end. They go down again. They come back and score way too quick. I think Hunt should have just kept the football in his chest, and they should have ran a little more clock off, take it to overtime. You have a better chance of winning. When you give Lamar Jackson a minute to get Justin Tucker in field goal range, that's way too much time. But, Brendan, you were the first person to say in the group chat, I have a lot to talk about Wednesday after this game concluded, so I'm going to start with you. games you love, their implications. I know you're going to talk about the Browns-Ravens game. What are your thoughts on the game overall?
Well, originally when I sent that, it was just a lot of anger and frustration because this always happens to the Browns. Like, of course, we put up 42 points on the biggest Monday Night Football game that they've played in since '99, and yet we still lose. We run into Lamar Jackson, who has to, be Lamar Jackson of old and run around for 124 yards. I don't even think he threw for 100 passing yards. Yet they still put up 47 points. That the last 2 points was, garbage. But ultimately, I was trying to find a narrative to spin, and the fact that this is, still the same old Cleveland Browns to lose the way that they did. But there was something inside of me that I couldn't do that. Oh. I could not do that. This game, I was there, and, the emotions that I saw within those drunk fans was mind-blowing. And maybe that's why I thought about this game over the last day and a half and just thought that, this is the start of a new era of football in Cleveland. Andrew Berry, all he has to do in this next draft all defensive players because the defense sucks still, especially in that secondary. But this was a historic moment. This was a moment of hope of Baker Mayfield leading the charge. He obviously loves to show up in the high pressure situations under the lights, prime time. That's his thing. And, you're going to get a lot more of that next year. A lot more Sunday night games, a lot more Monday night games. So that's good. That's good omen for Browns fans. But after a day and a half, I'm still hopeful. I'm not mad about the loss. It's definitely a good day, good time to be a Browns fan.
I'm going to touch on what Brendan said, and I agree. It's a new era in Cleveland. But there's still a little bit that felt like it was the old Browns, and that is Cody Parkey. It should have been 45-42 before Lamar Jackson got that ball and got that chance to take him down the field, and he should have been tying the game.
Draft Sarah Fuller.
I don't know if that's the answer, but
again, well, of course, we have Cody Parkey as our kicker,
and he's perfect all year.
It's happened to him before with the Bears,
and he's perfect all year until it matters.
Right.
But he's having the best year of his career until the Baltimore game. But no, it was a great game, and it shows that Cleveland is a few defensive pieces away from talking Super Bowl. A few defensive pieces away from talking Super Bowl. It's also sad to think Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, Ronnie Harrison, and Greedy Williams were all out. 4 starting defensive backs, which led to us starting Terrence Mitchell, Kevin Johnson, MJ Stewart, and the man, the myth, the legend, Andrew Sendejo. That is why you need depth. I still think we need some linebackers too. I love Goodson. I love Wilson. Taki showed some flashes. And who am I missing? Jacob Phillips showed some flashes. Still think a linebacker would be a good move in the draft. A secondary would be a great move in the draft. I think our defensive line is pretty solid. I mean, you got Garrett. Vernon's played. I mean, Vernon, everyone was like, trade him. This year, he's played so well that you're like, oh, well, maybe hold on to him. You got Claiborne, you got Sheldon Richardson. That defensive line, and Larry Ogunjobi, I think the defensive line is pretty solid. But as far as the back 7 goes, it does need the secondary. The back 4 needs a lot of work. But it's definitely, you go into the draft knowing your plan because the offensive line looks great. We have 2 of the best running backs in football. The receiving core, this is another thing we learned over these last few weeks. Extend Higgins, trade Odell. Because since Odell has left, Baker has lit the world on fire, And Rashard Higgins, here's the thing about Odell. Odell catches double teams because he's good. So then you'll have guys, Landry getting open, Higgins getting open. But then Odell gets mad because he's not getting the ball, but he's not open, and Baker's forcing the ball. Landry is now catching the double teams. When he gets open, Baker finds him. But Higgins is having these big games because Landry's catching the double teams. Landry's the better teammate. Doesn't complain. He wants the Browns to be successful.
Landry definitely plays better when he's double teamed too.
Yeah.
I think he makes better catches than Odell.
Baker doesn't think he has to force the ball to Landry, and that's why they're playing so well.
Look, you have your wide receiver set. Higgins, Peoples-Jones, Hodge, Landry. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You have two other
Peoples-Jones has been playing really well since the Odell injury, too.
He has been.
He's become 3, in my opinion.
You can only have so many weapons on offense, and I don't think we need Odell.
I mean, the Browns also didn't have Austin Hooper this game. The tight end they went out and bought. They had Harrison Bryant, who's played well. He's had a few drop balls, but, I mean, that's going to happen with a rookie.
That Colin Cowherd said yesterday on Fox Sports 1 that we put so much money into our offense. We drafted, I think, way too many tight ends that we didn't really give enough consideration and money into the defense.
But we still have a lot of cap. The Browns still have a lot of cap room, though. They could go out and sign a big-name safety if they wanted to. Or trade Odell or Njoku for a safety or linebacker.
Then what's holding us back?
I don't know. We'll see. Ben and Jacob, you guys look like you are itching to talk. Ben, Jacob, which one of you? I know one of you guys. This game, there's a lot to talk about with this game.
I mean, I think this game kind of solidified that Baker Mayfield is the franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
So Colin Cowherd can go take his opinions and shove them
somewhere
wherever he wants. But I mean, because the dude came out there and absolutely balled. I mean, he throws the interception instead of letting it frazzle him, stays poised, runs for a touchdown, throws for 2 more. I mean, you can't ask for much more from your franchise quarterback than that. Because ultimately, that's on the defense,
including a 4th down conversion for a touchdown.
That's true, that too. But the defense is the big problem. And like you said, we got basically our entire starting secondaries out.
Yeah.
So, even if 1 or 2 of those guys are in, that's a different ballgame.
Ronnie Harrison tackles J.K. Dobbins at the 1.
Yeah, he's nice.
Instead of Sendeo getting bulldozed.
Yeah, he's not going to be here next year, so...
He's not going to be anywhere next year.
Yeah, he's going to be on the couch next year. Or on the sideline coaching. But he ain't going to be playing. But, yeah, I think once we get some more depth, this is a really good Browns team. Because we can't afford to have people hurt on the defensive end. Linebacker is still a problem. But the pass rush is nice. The secondary when healthy is nice. So the draft next year, we just got to invest.
I agree the pass rush has been nice all season, but I disagreed with the play calling by Joe Woods. You do not blitz Lamar Jackson up the middle. That is the last thing you do. Because if he gets to the outside and there's no one there to contain him, he rushes for 100-plus yards and a couple touchdowns.
He did that on that last drive. And by that point in the game, late in the 4th quarter, I don't know how you don't know what your play call should be.
Yeah, when Jackson came in for that...
Spread everyone out and trap them in the slots play zone. But then, obviously, that leaves a wide receiver open.
Yeah.
And he makes heck of a throw like that against a really bad secondary. I don't know. It was just a really bad situation to be in.
Yeah, Jackson, that 4th and 4, they blitzed 7 guys up the middle, and you have our 4 backup defensive backs guarding 5 guys. And the rest is history. Brown gets open, touchdown. Because you have 7 guys. You have that outside containment, but you don't have enough guys downfield now. Joe Woods has been given a defense that's not that great and has done well in some games as far as play calling goes, but this game was by far his worst game as the defense coordinator for Cleveland. And I'm not saying it's all his fault we lost. There was a lot of opportunities. Special teams wasn't there with Parkey. That pick was still huge. I disagree with Brandon Marshall. That did not cost the Browns the game. It definitely set them back. So if they go down and score and tie it 28-28 on that drive, it's a different ball game. But, wow. I can't remember the last time the Browns were this exciting to watch. Jacob, what do you want to say?
So, what I think possibly lost the Browns the game, it's on that not the last drive for Baltimore, but the drive where they took the lead again, where Lamar comes back out. Can't help but think they have them in a third down situation with Trace McSorley at quarterback, and all they need to do is get those 2 stops. And Trace McSorley, it wasn't even that good of a thrown ball. It's just a good catch by the Ravens receiver, and they just kept driving. I just can't help but think if you would have got the stop there, that would have been huge. But I think what it showed for Baltimore, I think Baltimore's in the playoffs now. I just expect them to take this as so much motivation that they can get back on track. Lamar looked good again. I think that they're going to make the playoffs over the Dolphins just because the Dolphins have a tough schedule. They have an easy schedule. But the Browns, not sure if the Browns are even going to win a playoff game this year. But my God, do they look impressive. And I think that, like how everyone keeps saying, you need to upgrade the defense. I just can't help but think that with Baker Mayfield playing as good as he's playing, the Browns could easily put up 35 points a week potentially if he's playing this good. You just need that defense just to step up once. That's all they need to do in this game. Just step up one time, and you could have beat the Ravens right there. I mean, I should be disappointed that they lost, but like how everyone's saying, this is a new era of Cleveland Browns football, and I'm so excited for it. I don't know if they're going to win in the playoffs this year, but the future's looking so bright, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds for this team.
Alex, is there anything you want to add about the Browns-Ravens game?
Yeah, it's just that, I agree, this is a new era for the Browns, but just with this last game, I feel like just hints of the old Browns were, peaking, in the sense that there's just so many, little mistakes, here and there. You miss a kick or 2 here, or you score a touchdown too quickly there. And it's when those add up collectively, as much as I love the Browns, the Ravens deserve to win. And I feel like the Browns really did have a chance at winning that game. But I agree. I do think the Browns need a stronger defense. I'm not losing hope for the playoffs quite yet, only because, first of all, I see how the Giants and the Steelers both lost their games, so that gives me hope for the next couple of weeks for the Browns. But still, I'm not ruling out the Browns yet. I do agree it's a new era for them. It's the little mistakes. You just get rid of those little kinks, and I don't know. I was a little disappointed to watch, but at the same time, it was an exciting game. All the way, literally to the end, it was exciting to see what was going to happen.
Yeah, it was definitely exciting. There's no doubt that it was exciting. I was just a little upset also with the play call at the end for the Browns. The hook and ladder, I would have gone Hail Mary. You saw Baker can let loose. I looked up the stats. Hail Marys work 9.7% of the time for a touchdown in NFL history. Hook and ladder less than 5%. So the stats, the analytics, that's what we're all about. The analytics are there. You should have gone Hail Mary. But nonetheless, all the bettors in Vegas upset, so I'm very happy. Because it led to a safety. So 47-42 is the final score. The Browns' playoff chances, the FPI percent chance goes down from 89 to 87. So, hey, we've seen a heck of a lot worse than that chance percent column. Ravens, theirs goes up from just over 20 to 88%, and the Dolphins see a hit because of this outcome as they go down to 25% chance of making the playoffs. So the Dolphins, they were big Browns fans on Monday night. Dolphins still hold that last spot, but due to strength of schedule is a lot of the reason why the Ravens have an 88% chance and the Dolphins have a 25% chance. So let's look at the playoff picture. Kansas City, they win the AFC West with their win over the Dolphins. They're 12-1, hold the 1 seed. Pittsburgh 11-2, they have clinched a playoff berth, but they have not clinched the AFC North, and they have not clinched the 1 seed because obviously they've fallen out of it now. Buffalo, the 3 seed at 10-3, they have a 99% chance of making the playoffs. They clinch with a win this weekend. Tennessee, 9-4, has a 94% chance. The Browns have the top wildcard spot at 9-4 with an 87% chance. Colts, 9-4 with a 90% chance. Dolphins, 8-5 with 25% chance. In the hunt, Baltimore's 8-5 with an 88% chance. The Raiders, 7-6 with a 15% chance to make the playoffs. And the New England Patriots, 6-7 with a 2% chance of making the playoffs. And as for the NFC, The Packers, they win the NFC North once again as they're 10-3 and hold the top spot with the Saints lost now. Saints are in the 2 spot at 10-3. They clinched a playoff berth, have a chance to win the NFC South this weekend with a win or a Buccaneers loss. 3 seeds, the Rams at 9-4. They have a 99% chance. They clinch with a win this weekend. They clinch a playoff berth, not the NFC West. Washington football team have the 4 spot at 6-7. They have a 74% chance to make it. The football team getting a lot of respect after taking a 1-game lead over the Giants, and due to the strength of schedules going forward, the football team definitely has the best chance at winning that division. Seattle has the 5 seed at 9-4, 99% chance. They also clinch with a win. They clinch a playoff berth with a win this weekend. Tampa Bay's 8-5 has a 97% chance. Arizona 7-6 has a 55% chance. And in the hunt, the 6-7 Vikings and 6-7 Bears both with a 20% chance of making the playoffs. I guess you could say the Lions are 5-8 in the hunt. They have like a 2% chance. And then the Giants 5-8. They have, I think, 26% chance just because of the NFC East. But so 4 teams have clinched, 10 spots left. 3 teams clinch a playoff berth with a win this weekend. And I think the Saints are the only team this week with a chance to win their division. Actually, I think Buffalo might win the AFC East with a win and a Dolphins loss, if I'm correct. I believe so. But the Saints just need a win. So that's what I'm saying. Controlling their own destiny, there's 4 clinching opportunities this weekend. So let's look at Week 15. Like I said, Buffalo clinches the playoff with a win. Los Angeles Rams clinch a playoff spot with a win. Seattle clinches the playoff spot with a win. Saints clinch NFC South with a win, or Tampa Bay loss. Some matchups this weekend. What's our favorite? Ben, I'll start with you. Favorite matchups coming into this weekend? Who do you have?
You know, there's a lot of matchups coming up here, but one is different than the others. The Jets and the Rams, the 0-16 march continues, and I'm here for it. Rams are going to win by 3-4 scores, and I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it because I kind of want to see a team go 0-16, to be honest.
Yeah. The Rams, they got a good pull this weekend. They needed 1 win to clinch the playoffs, and you get the Jets. I mean, so they should go to 10-4, especially now that they finally, I believe, found an identity in the run game. I think Cam Akers is their guy going forward. If these last 2 weeks have proved anything else for the Rams, Cam Akers is the man going forward. And Jared Goff, he's looking good with his receiving core. And that defense, I didn't think the Rams defense, I mean, obviously you have Aaron Donald, a great secondary. I didn't think they'd be talked about as one of the best in the NFL, but they are playing a very, very good football. And I agree. Rams, Jets, fun game to watch if you're a fan of teams getting blown out. But Jacob, favorite matchups this upcoming week?
This one doesn't necessarily have a lot of playoff implication with one of the teams, but I like the Bills at the Broncos this week, and that's just because of what I saw from Josh Allen last week. I think Josh Allen last week really showed to me that the Bills are a team that nobody wants to really mess with. Right now, after what I saw from them, I think I'd have the Bills in the AFC Championship game at this very moment against the Chiefs. Because I think Josh Allen he can definitely take the Bills far now, because what he showed to me was he can bounce back. And that was the one thing he hadn't shown me all year, was that when he's off, he's off. That's what it typically was. But this past week, he definitely showed he can bounce back, and I think that's huge for the Bills down the stretch. But my actual game of the week would have to be the Seahawks at the football team, because that's a huge game for each team right there. The Seahawks want to stay in the race to potentially win the NFC West. They're going to make the playoffs for sure, though. And the football team just wants to stay on track and keep lighting the world on fire and somehow pulling out these crazy wins, which I personally think the football team's going to win this week, because I believe in that defense so much that I think if they can stop Russell Wilson enough, where the football team's going to win and stay atop the NFC East.
Yeah, I like the Buffalo pick in the sense that Bills Mafia is a win away from clinching a playoff berth. So I agree with that. And then obviously the Seahawks also win away. The football team trying to stay steady on top. That's going to be a fun one to watch as well. Bills don't realize this enough. Stephon Diggs is a huge addition to that team as well. and Cole Beasley as well. I mean, those two guys, Josh Allen. Everyone's talking about Devin Singletary coming this season and Zach Moss. They don't even have to run the ball. They don't. But anyways, Brendan, favorite matchups for Week 15?
Yeah, I'm looking at two that involve two teams, and it's Arizona and Minnesota, and Chicago, actually, still. The Bears at the Vikings, 2 6-7 teams, both in the hunt for the NFC wild card. Both of them need this game to keep themselves alive. And they'll also be looking at Eagles at Cardinals. Can Jalen Hurts somehow do what he did last weekend and upset Arizona, helping out either Chicago or Minnesota? Those two games, really huge wild card implications on the line, involving all those teams to keep themselves in the hunt.
I agree a lot. The AFC specifically, but it's these last 3 weeks. I'm telling you guys, these last 3 weeks. That's why you got to do what I do and get Sundays and Mondays off from work. Alex, your favorite matchups? And Saturday this week. There's 2 Saturday games.
Sorry, I was cutting out there for a minute.
You're good.
First, I just want to add on to what Ben said. I mean, the Jets and the Rams. I'm sorry, that makes me giggle, but that'll be an insane game. Talk about obliteration. But anyway, my game of the week. I'm still going with the Browns and the Giants. I mean, I know what I said last week. I was really confident that the Browns could beat the Ravens, and I mean, obviously things happen on any given Sunday or Monday, but I'm still holding my confidence for the Browns that they could go over the Giants. Just something tells me that I'm hoping the Browns can redeem themselves with this upcoming game. But I'm still keeping with them for this next weekend.
And there we go. Browns can't clinch a playoff berth with the win. If they want to control their own destiny, they have to win out. If they win all 3 games, they clinch. But obviously, they can clinch against the Jets with a little bit of help from other teams. Not impossible help either. It's all feasible. But couple games I'm highlighting. Chiefs Saints. Chiefs trying to hold on to that top seed in the AFC. It's the only first round bye, so now it's bigger than ever. But the Saints also trying to fight back and get grasp of the NFC's top seed. So I think that one's big as far as that goes. Both teams have already clinched, so they're playing for seeding now. And then Colts and Titans. That race is tight. Titans have the tiebreaker. They're 9-4 each. They both have easier games this week as the Titans host the Lions and the Colts host the Texans. I'm interested to see those 2 games in the aspect of this AFC South race is getting tight. Did the Titans go better than 9-7? They just need 1 win and they do it. They get that 10th win. It seems like every year the Tennessee Titans are 9-7. They can get a win this week and they get that 10th win. But I'm interested to see how that race plays out. And obviously the loser of the division, both teams have the tiebreaker loss to the Browns. So if the Browns hold tight with the same record, the Browns have the tiebreaker over both those teams as far as seeding goes. It's going to be, again, a fun weekend. A lot happens. As you see this playoff implications list we made, a lot of games matter every week now as we get down to the 10 spots available. A lot of teams are fighting. The Patriots have 2% chance, but they're not giving up. So that is it for everything we have to talk about sports-wise. It is time now for last call. And we're going to make last call pertain a little bit to sports. Usually we do little fun questions here, like what's your favorite pie? Or if you could put chocolate chips in your chocolate cake, would you? But this week we're going to do, since it's conference championship week, we're going to talk what's your favorite conference championship game all time. You can do any sport. I was really leaning towards football, obviously, because it's football conference championship game. But if there's a basketball conference championship game, there's been some good ones. Go ahead and say it. And then we'll start with that one. Jacob, I'll start with you. Favorite conference championship game all time?
So I've actually got 3 different sports.
Okay.
For college football, the 2018 SEC championship game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was Alabama and Georgia. And the year before, these two met in the national championship game, and Tua Tagovailoa came in and replaced Jalen Hurts. And then in the SEC championship game that year, Jalen Hurts came in and took over for Tua and ended up leading Alabama back to beat Georgia in that championship game. I just thought that was a crazy storyline, and it was super fun to watch. I was really rooting for Georgia in that game, but, Alabama's Alabama, so they always pull out a win. The NFL 2013 NFC Championship game when Seattle played San Francisco, particularly just for one play in the end. It ended up being Richard Sherman with Michael Crabtree in the back of the end zone. He batted the ball away. He comes up, he's like, "You put a sorry receiver like Crabtree on me, that's what you're going to get. I'm the best corner in the game." That's just like one of the best NFL quotes to me. And that's why I can't stand Richard Sherman still to this day. But that was just a great game to watch. And in the NBA, since I'm a huge NBA fan, 2018 Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7, the Cavs went on the road in Boston and ended up beating them in a really close game. And what I remember most about that game, Jason Tatum was really young. Marcus Morris, too. They were bullying LeBron the whole game. And LeBron had the last laugh because I'll always remember this play. It was right at the end. He's dribbling down the court. Marcus Morris comes up from behind him, basically tackles him. LeBron throws up an and one. That Boston crowd went silent. LeBron screaming at the crowd, pumping his chest. Cavs go back to the finals. It was just a great moment. So that's my favorite game from the NBA standpoint.
All right. Brendan, favorite conference championship game all time?
Yeah, 2012 SEC Championship, Alabama against Georgia. Some consider it that year to be the true national championship because Alabama went on to slaughter Notre Dame in the national championship with A.J. McCarron. But 32-28, Alabama beats Georgia. Amari Cooper played in that game, and A.J. McCarron had a huge touchdown pass to him to take the lead with like 3 minutes left. Just a lot of Aaron Murray was the quarterback for Georgia that year, and just one of the better matchups between those two rivals. I mean, they've had so many conference championships over the years, but that is definitely at the top of some of their matchups. And then, yeah, I agree with Jacob. 2018, that whole series between the Cavs and the Celtics to get Cleveland their fourth straight Eastern Conference title. And I was thinking about it. Cleveland with the Browns, they have had a interesting history when it comes to conference championships in the AFC. Really bad losses when they've been trying to get to the Super Bowl back when the Cardiac Kids were a thing. So, yeah, it's not a great history with the Browns.
No. Ben.
I got to go with 2014 Big Ten Championship. Ohio State needs a big win to get into the playoff. Runs over Wisconsin 59-0. That's got to be up there. And then that 2018, they don't shake my head. Some of us playing conferences around here.
We're undefeated as a conference
Yeah,
team.
It's one season.
We've never lost a conference game. Ohio State has.
You played one season. All right. And then the 2018 Eastern Conference Finals NBA series. I mean, that was a special. LeBron James was on another level that whole playoff run, but that series in particular, that was special. It's a shame they couldn't have put more people around him that year.
Yeah.
But we had a squad for about a game.
Agreed.
But those are my picks.
Alex, you have a favorite conference championship game all time?
I'm going to have to go with the Cavs in 2015 in the NBA. I know I'm not one to really watch basketball. Personally, I prefer baseball and football, but this is just one of the rare occasions where I did watch it. I remember that game vividly. And it's just, I mean, I'm a Cleveland person. I was born in Cleveland, so it's still my city. So I wanted to tune into that game, but I remember that game vividly. And it was one of the few occasions that I watched basketball, and I think to this day it's one of my favorites.
All right. For me, it's the 2008 SEC Championship, Alabama versus Florida. I know you're probably like, whoa, you were 9 years old. I started watching sports intently at the age of like 5, honestly, about 2004, right around Notre Dame Ohio State Fiesta Bowl, But love the Brady Quinn days. But Alabama, Florida, it was the year Tim Tebow promised. We're gonna win it all. Alabama's number 1, Florida's number 3. Winners basically in the national championship. It's a 20-17 game going into the fourth quarter, and then Tim Tebow, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to take that 31-20 win. Ends up moving on to the national championship, takes down Oklahoma, and he delivers on the promise. I just love the storyline with that. It cemented his legacy as far as a college football player goes, and it was really awesome to see him do that. So that's my favorite conference championship of all time. Until this Saturday, hopefully. Hopefully, if the outcome is what I want it to be, that will be my new favorite conference championship game of all time. But anyways, final question here on Last Call. You get to start a sports franchise in any sport you want. Okay? So pick the sport, pick the city you're located, the nickname, and if you want to throw a color scheme in there, you can. Jacob, I'll start with you.
So I was going to say Seattle and bring back the Supersonics in the NBA because they should have never left in the first place. I mean, the Thunder are a great franchise, but it was just devastating to see Seattle lose their team. But they're getting a hockey team, so I'm not necessarily going to give them a team right now. I was thinking more on the lines of NBA as well, bringing a team back to Buffalo. Buffalo used to have a team back in the 70s called the Buffalo Braves, and they ultimately became the Los Angeles Clippers. So if you bring them back, Buffalo Braves, I just feel like Buffalo fans are super passionate, and it's a small market city. So I feel like the fans would really get behind them, and I'd love to see a team kind of compete with the Knicks market too, and maybe take away some Knicks fans and make them Buffalo fans, even though that probably wouldn't happen.
All right. Alex, what sport are you starting a franchise in?
God, this is a hard one. I don't know. Here, can you come back to me again? I have to think about this a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go down to Ben.
I'm probably overthinking this, but...
I stumped you all.
Buffalo's a good choice. See, I don't just pick the same one. Buffalo's a good choice. Just put a team in Buffalo. Because those fans are crazy.
Yeah.
I'll go out of right field. I'll go like Kent, Ohio, professional ultimate frisbee. It's a thing. It's a college town.
Brendan's so upset.
It's outside the box. I said I was going outside the box.
There you go. Brendan, where are you starting a franchise and what sport?
Nah, you guys are thinking like inside the box, but like right like on the edge of it. You're almost out of it. You're peeking outside the box. Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh, you suck. You took mine.
NFL team in there. Put an NFL team. You see how much Hawaii loves their football.
Yeah.
They hosted the Pro Bowl. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, usually a decent team. Have really good high school football there. Put an NFL team in there. Call them the Lava. The Honolulu Lava.
No.
Rolls right off the tongue. Or the Trojans or Warriors, whatever. Definitely has to be something Hawaii themed. Make it like dark orange or gold. Put a little green in there. Hawaii. I don't know why Hawaii and Alaska don't have a professional team, but they need one.
I obviously, if I'm going football, I'm thinking like bringing the Houston Oilers back or something. But growing up, Brendan, my whole life, ever since I started playing video games, you could create a team. In basketball, football, and baseball, I always made the Honolulu Voodoo.
That's a good one. That fits,
and they were neon green and purple.
All right, that needs a little work, but
no, I'm telling you, me and my brother sat down one day when I was probably like 6 years old in the Honolulu Voodoo. I'd bring them to life in any sport. If the NBA wanted to expand it to Hawaii, if NFL wants a Hawaii team, Honolulu Voodoo. They're bringing it. I'm bringing it in. And when you said Honolulu, I was like, you son of a gun. There's how many other cities in this country? And you could have picked London for all I care.
Yeah, London's been in the talks about getting
the London Jaguars, baby.
Yeah.
It's never gonna happen.
Alex,
It might.
Alex, have you thought of one?
Wow. Well, in the spirit of bringing one to Hawaii, let's bring one to Alaska while we're at it there.
There you go.
I don't know. What would
The Anchorage
I don't know.
Fishers. I don't know. Ice Fishers. I don't know.
Anchorage
Polar bears.
Polar bear? No, maybe something like with Anchorage.
The Juno Who We Are.
Yeah, Juneau is the state capital.
Yeah, but I think Anchorage is the biggest city, isn't it? Anchorage is the big.
Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Most
Or
populated.
is it Juneau? I don't know.
I think Anchorage is the most populated. I mean, none of them are very populated, but that's why it's the only green state in the country as far as coronavirus goes. Social distance, their houses are 36 miles apart. So
Yeah, you've got mounds of snow covering everything.
got to drive 112 miles to the closest Walmart.
Will they have enough people to fill a stadium, though? That's what I'm wondering.
You pack your car up with lunch and everything. Where are we going, Mom? Walmart shopping trip. We're not going to the beach. But no, I think I always thought that was fun. I wish Madden to bring back creative team, or anybody. I like the expansion setting for 2K. I always have fun with that, especially since if you have online and you can. I mean, the logos they post on there are hilarious, but I always think it'd be cool if you get to start your own sports franchise. Where would you do it? What would you be called? Especially with everything going on with Cleveland, you know. If you could pick a name, what would you pick, you know? So, well, that is it for episode 7. A lot of fun. We had a really fun episode here, you know. A lot going on. Month of December always seems to be a fun month, especially now that basketball starts in December. So, a lot going on. So, thanks again to everybody who listened. For Alex Patrone, Brenda DeVinny, Ben Johnson-Bowers, Jacob Butar, I'm Will Brienza, and we thank you all again for listening. This was episode 7 of RaiderZone the Podcast. We'll be back next week for episode 8, and we'll be talking some playoffs, so don't miss that.